Hi there, everyone. This is Thomas Lancaster here. I'd like just to take a few minutes to tell you about the London and South East Academic Integrity Network. This is an academic integrity network that I coordinate for members in the UK, primarily in the London and South East England region, for people who want a safe space to discuss the academic integrity issues that they are seeing around themselves there. Uh, and I will, just before I start, in the interest of giving credit, mention two other members of the network, Dr. Steph Allen, Dr. Mary Davis, who did co-present a version of this talk with me at a recent conference. So great to have had them involved. This is just a slightly revised version, just to give you a very quick overview of some of the content there. But what you need to know about the London and South East Academic Integrity Network, or we abbreviate this to LSEAIN. Mostly it is very informal, it's very much unfunded. It's something that I set up back in 2021 due to requests, because there are academic integrity networks in other parts of the UK. I'll mention some of those later on, but they didn't cover this particular region. So we set this up to operate and meet online. During the pandemic at the time, and there were still restrictions on meeting, it's remained online because that's turned out to be very convenient to members of the UK academic community. And we are very much based towards members in the UK, so at the moment we can't really support membership from outside the UK just because we deal with our very own educational system there. But there are other networks around the world that I hope other people get involved with. And it's very much information sharing network, talk about what you know about your institution, but we don't have official members from any institution. Multiple people can join from any university if they want to do so. As I mentioned, we set up originally in May 2021. We've got into a rhythm now of meeting of every 6 to 8 weeks. We tend to meet around 6 times a year, something like that. We don't usually meet during the summer period when people are quite rightfully taking a break from some of their academic activities. And we have a fairly standard procedure at the meetings. We conduct them by the Chatham House rules, so that means that we don't want members to be identified unless they've explicitly given permission about the kind of things they say. People might talk about sensitive situations they know about from their own institution. They might ask if other people have seen these. And it's very much about that information sharing and information collecting, because if you're only working with your own institution, it's very hard to know what else is going on. We have a topic as well, which is our main topic each time. We have opportunities for discussions about other areas, for member updates as well, to greet our new members. And we tend to have meetings that last 90 minutes to 2 hours at a time. Sometimes people drop in and out because it's very hard to schedule everything that works for every single member. We have 34 members, slightly more than the time I put this slide together because there have been a few new members asking to join. There, not everyone comes every time. We probably have around 12 people attend a meeting on average. We're very much geared towards staff working at academic institutions, at universities, colleges of higher education. We would certainly not turn down further education staff as well. And this is a non-exhaustive list of roles on the slide. But we're thinking people who teach, people who help with learning development, with developing resources. We have some student union representatives. We have people leading academic integrity work in their institution or in their faculty or in their school or department. We have registry members, student conduct members, appeals members. We've got some quite senior people in institutions as well, particularly people like associate deans, perhaps with more of a student role, student experience, learning and teaching, perhaps quality type role. We're very much open to librarians joining us, the people who support students with issues like referencing, other people in things like academic writing support, staff. That is a non-exhaustive list though. We can also consider student members in certain situations. What we can't usually take are representatives from separate commercial edtech providers or working on selling academic integrity solutions to students or a few limitations there. We will always put this to the members for discussion, but it's much easier to accept people if you fall within this list. Also mentioned some of the main topics that we've seen in our meetings over the last 2 years or so. And this is not an exhaustive list, but some of these have appeared more than once in different formats. We've had a huge amount of material related to artificial intelligence, the growth of ChatGPT, how universities respond, associated policies, but various other types of policies as well, things like proofreading. We had a lot of reaction to COVID-19 back at the time, and assessment associated with that. Assessment, how we design it to make it interesting for students and to reduce the opportunity of misconduct, has also been a big area for that as well. We've looked at things like getting students involved in the discussion. As I mentioned, we have student union members anyway for that, but how do we make sure the student voice is represented in the work we do? This kind of training needs to go to staff of different types, particularly relevant now we're talking about artificial intelligence, which has changed so many things too. And we had some really interesting discussions about discipline differences, some of the things I couldn't easily do myself, despite being a computer scientist. I've got a relatively narrow field because I don't do that much traditional academic writing with students. I may do more of the coding side of things with them, but thinking about academic integrity in areas like fashion, in areas like art, in the humanities, in business, and in various other subjects, and great ways to get to share some good practice from different disciplines that could be used elsewhere. So to me, it's been pretty successful. I will mention just a few quick successes. These are far from an exhaustive list, but the things that members have highlighted. We've got several working groups. We're not strictly a research type network, but some kind of research does go on. I mentioned Mary Davis, who presented with me before. There, she led a team of people who got quality assurance funding, and they put together lots of resources to help student learning to do with accessibility and inclusion, massive and important areas. And the other members of that are all part of the network who helped to get that funding. I mentioned Steph as well, Steph Allen, who has put together this great speaker series. It's now run more than one lot of these talks. I was a presenter of the first set of these. I'll no doubt present again because Steph is continuing to do a lot of work in this area, but it's all based on, she will say, some of the inspiration she got from being part of the network. We've had several working groups as well. We've had groups go out and do staff training at different institutions on areas of academic integrity. There, we've got several active members or small groups there. We've also had a group working towards supporting International Day of Action for Academic Integrity. This used to be called the International Day of Action Against Contract Cheating. It's got a slightly more positive name this year. And we're quite thankful as a result of that group that Mary Davis is on the main organising committee for that. I'm also part of that committee as well. And so we've got both the leadership in the UK as a result of the network and very much feeding into the international work. And we've got other things ongoing as well. We've got members looking at policies in smaller groups, so there really is a life for people who are interested in taking something forward beyond these meetings. We also have an email discussion opportunities. Sometimes of the year this can get quite active as well. I think there are lots of benefits to this network. I'll just mention a few of them. It is very much that information sharing. You've got a challenge in your institution. Has anyone else heard about this? You've been contacted by people saying, we're doing work for your students, they've not paid us, what do you do? You ask that kind of question to the network and you find out other people have dealt with that, or people from graduates from your university have started to do work for students externally now to do their academic work for them. Maybe that's the kind of discussion that you might bring into the network. There have been lots of other examples. There is this way of bringing people together with different expertise. You want a guest speaker for your institution, perhaps someone else in this network. We've also supplied guest speakers to organizations outside the network as well for that, sharing that expertise. So it's opening up other opportunities. I've mentioned some of the collaboration going on outside the main meetings as well. And it's very much this opportunity for discussion. You can't have this discussion in your own university because perhaps this will single you out or mark your cards, but you can have it with a group of like-minded people who are passionate about the academic integrity area elsewhere. So it's to me incredibly useful, and very glad it's worked so well. We welcome new members in the London and South East region. Roughly that area on the map, the border lines are not completely fixed. So we do have people from slightly outside that area. We can consider guest members as are online from elsewhere in the UK, but we can't really take people from outside the UK at present. There is a Midlands group run by Sandy Dan. Definitely worth contacting Sandy if you're in that area. There's also the Northern group run by Stephen Gow that covers Scotland as well as the north of England. Uh, and if you're in Wales, the Welsh Integrity and Assessment Network. This is a slightly different type of network because this is funded externally and they do take minutes of their meetings, but it still can be worth thinking about joining. Funded by the QAA, by um, Higher Education Funding Council for Wales as well. Michael Draper and Mike Reddy are the contacts for that one. At the moment, there are no networks in Northern Ireland and there's nothing officially covering Southwest England. So if you're interested in setting something up, please do try and get that network going. I'm quite happy to give you a few hints about how to do that. But this is primarily to tell you about the London and the South East Academic Integrity Network. If you would like to join us, then there is a very simple form at academicintegrity.uk/LSEAIN. Do fill it in, send the details through. They come through to me, and I normally look at them, but it might take me a few days. If I'm away, it might take a bit longer to get you added to the appropriate lists and just to check all the information there. Our next meeting is going to be in September 2023, and the subject matter was voted on by our members last time around: policies on artificial intelligence. Any problem with joining on the form, by all means drop me an email. I haven't got my email address on the slide, but it's thomas@thomaslancaster.co.uk. But you can soon find a contact for me online if you search for that. But I hope this has been useful for you. I encourage you to join and to come and get involved in the activity we're doing, if nothing else, just to hear about some of the work going on academic integrity. It's very active, it's not all about academic misconduct, and it's very important to everyone involved. And if you're outside the region, as I mentioned, do join the other regional networks. There are some outside the UK as well, or do look to set up your own because it's so useful to have these channels for discussions about academic integrity. So academicintegrity.uk/LSEAIN. I hope to hear from some of you soon.